Welcome to Rock Solid, the Round Rock Business Leaders Podcast. Join your host, Bryan Eisenberg, as he explores the journeys of entrepreneurs and companies across Round Rock, Texas. From startups and nonprofits to large organizations, each guest shares their passion for doing business in this thriving community. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. It's Bryan Eisenberg. Welcome to Rock Solid. This week, I am joined by Charley Ayres. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You've got a long tie-in to our area, Round Rock and all of Central Texas, and some unique perspectives, I believe, because, you've got a background in economic development.
Yep.
You've worked with the chamber, and now you are the director of student relations at Texas A&M Central Texas.
That's correct.
What's the common theme around all of that?
I like to build stuff. I program development, coming in and having a hands-on experience of where you're helping to shape or form something. That was the great thing about being in Round Rock. And Round Rock is still, that it's still one of those cities and communities that other communities aspire to be.
Yep.
That's largely because of leadership that's always been in the community. And you always hear people say, well, our community's got good leadership. And sometimes that's just a phrase, but in Round Rock, that's been steadfast and true. But I've always liked being a part of something that was being built and you could see kind of the fruits of your labor at some point. And now, when I come back to Round Rock, if I'm here shopping or eating or something, it's just interesting to see how much things have grown on some of the early things that we laid down as a foundation when I got to be more involved in the development of it.
It's interesting because, you ask a lot of people from Austin when they think about Round Rock, they don't think about the Texas Children's Baptist Home that's been here 75 years. We just did their ribbon cutting yesterday with them. The chamber that's been here 75 years. Obviously, they made no Round Rock donuts, right? 99 years. But the one that comes to mind for most of them is IKEA, which you are part of bringing that into our town and making it such an important destination for us. Tell us a little bit about how that happened, how that part of getting a company like IKEA to pick Round Rock was so central.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was interesting because there was a time when the leadership of Round Rock, primarily mayor, city council, was concerned because there was a large number of Round Rock residents that were driving into Austin for work, for recreation, for shopping, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there had been a real focus to try and develop that part of Round Rock where it was a place where people could eat, live, and stay, do their shopping, and keep that revenue base here in Round Rock. So because of that effort, there was a lot of really good wins, and especially even those that went after the group that I was with that worked here, because we saw the premium outlets come in and IKEA, and then afterwards the Bass Pro Shop, and it's almost interesting to see how it was almost like throwing a pebble into a pond. It had such a ripple effect. Yeah. Once one came, it really began to build. But the Round Rock today looks much different, even than it did when I was growing up in Austin, because it used to be kind of Ballard Groceries and Round Rock High School, and that's what was there. And it's a little bit hard to even imagine that, even like the Round Rock School District, it goes into Austin. It has gotten so large. So Round Rock is a really good success story. But again, I think that points to the leadership that not only I got to work with, but the leadership that's here currently. And many of those same leaders, that's what's interesting is, Mayor Craig Morgan. Craig Morgan and his wife Amanda are two of my closer friends. They were at my wedding, and he was involved when I was here, and he has continued that involvement, and you can see that across the board. Brooks Bennett was the communications director. Now he's city manager. So it speaks a lot to a community's just their commitment as a whole, because those leaders have stayed involved. They may have changed capacities or moved in a different way, but that was the most exciting part about being involved in any of those projects, is you were working with solid people.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a number of times from Judge Gravel, who told us that Williamson County is the #1 fastest growing county. We've more than doubled our valuation in the last 6 years. 12,500 new small businesses, in this area, faster than anyone else. We just had Charlie Culpepper, on the podcast as well, that spoke about the leadership and the next generation of leadership that's coming up. I'm curious, because you're now in dealing with students. There's a lot of leadership lessons that they would probably need to take away with them now going into this very disruptive workforce environment that we're seeing, right? Obviously with AI and everything going on.
Yeah.
What's the common thread that if you could pass along the wisdom that you've heard from them, the wisdom that you're seeing today, that you think will hold true as wisdom for tomorrow?
I would say probably the most significant thing is, and this is what I learned early on from Round Rock leaders, a willingness to be inconvenienced.
Okay.
And that was always the case. They were always willing to either give up their time, switch their schedule around. Sometimes it was give up part of their treasure, but they were always willing to step up and do whatever they needed to do. But I put it in that category of being willing to be inconvenienced. My first week in Round Rock, it was interesting because Jim Bowles, who is another one of those longtime leaders of Round Rock, he put me in his Tahoe and he drove me around the community and gave me the community tour. And I was just a new guy in Round Rock that was working for the chamber that didn't know up from down.
Yep.
But he took the time to do that, which I know was an inconvenience for someone like Mr. Bowles, because he stays very busy. But I think looking at students, I think probably today we need to understand that you really do have to kind of be willing to give of yourself to build that network, or to build that, or even to step into that role of a leader. Is you got to be willing to understand that sometimes other things have to take second place in your own life in order to move something forward.
Yeah, servant leader mentality, and
servant leader mentality hits the nail on the head. That's right.
I mean, I know that obviously that's been a central tenet of the baseball team for a very long time. But why isn't it something that's stressed so much among our youth today? Because we see they're so isolated today. They struggle to get out into the community and do things. What are the things that let's talk about for high schoolers, possibly hearing this, right? Parents of high schoolers, and they want to get their kids to shine in the university setting and beyond. What are you advising them?
Well, it's funny because at Texas A&M Central Texas, about 60% of our student body is either active military or military families.
Wow, okay.
And that's just simply because the 672 acres we have was donated to us by the Army. It was part of Fort Hood originally, and there's a real kind of target to reach those. And I was talking with, and because of that, we have several officers on our campus. And we even have a couple of executives on staff that were former generals or commanding generals.
Okay.
And I was talking to one of them the other day, and we were talking about how young people do not always have that connection. And, we hear that from employers about, they got great technical skills, but they don't have any employability skills. They have trouble communicating. They have trouble interacting, playing in the sandbox, so to speak. I think a lot of that comes from just the fact that culture has changed to the fact that we feel like you and I are plugged in because we're friends on Facebook, but we're not actually plugged in. Correct. I mean,
we're more connected, but we're more
connected,
disconnected in the same time.
That's exactly right. And I think that we're seeing the results of some of these technologies that have allowed us to be more connected. I know even in the workspace, we will get on Teams and shoot someone a message before we'll walk down to their office and talk to them face to face.
And put a hand on their shoulder.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think all that stuff is very underrated, and it's not so much an issue at the university because a lot of that we've called back in, but we've still, if you look around, there's still some people that work remote and they don't work in their office. You lose a lot of collaboration. You lose a lot of team building when it's not that human connection, and that's something I think that we're seeing results of now. And I would advise students, don't underestimate the value of building your network. I mean, I mentioned to you earlier before we started this interview, there's a lot of smarter people than me that could work for Texas A&M Central Texas. However,
right, you had no academic background.
That's right. None of that. That's right. No, I'd love to call Miss Hubbard at McCallum High School in Austin if I could find her and say, "Hey, I work at a university. Take that. What do you think about that?" Because I'm sure she thought, bless his heart, he'll just end up with the Austin Police Department somewhere working on a highway picking up litter. But that being said, Dr. Rhodes, part of the value that university staff saw in me was the network that I had built over the years. And obviously I have a lot of experience in developing programs, but that was a real key to my success over the years is there's not very many places that I can't go that I don't know who to call that can tell me who to call. And I think we just underrate that in today's work environment, even in just culture, period. That's value.
There's the expression, right? Your network is your net worth.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good expression.
Yeah.
Rock Solid is produced and recorded at Round Rock Studio. Located right here in Round Rock, our state-of-the-art studio is built for podcasters and creatives alike. We offer multiple professionally designed podcast sets, top-notch recording gear, and a full photography studio ready for any project. Whether you're launching a new podcast or upgrading your existing one, we can help with multi-camera recording, editing, and everything you need for success. Record with us at Round Rock Studio, your local podcasting partner.
So let's talk a little bit about your role because, not everybody knows that Texas A&M has a Round Rock presence. So let's talk about what the university is, what it offers. Yeah. And then we'll talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so Texas A&M Central Texas, it is another public university in the area. The interesting thing about Texas A&M Central Texas is we're the only one that is a higher level university. And so what that means is we have partnerships with Austin Community College, Temple College, and a couple of the other community colleges that aren't directly related to the Round Rock community, but as far as Hutto, Taylor, that area goes, Temple College and Austin Community College, you go there for your first 2 years. We only have the junior, senior level. Okay. So they go get their associate degrees. We have articulation agreements to where they transfer automatically to Texas A&M, and they finish their bachelor's degree with us. So it's a little bit interesting setup, but we also do early college high school. And so even with Round Rock ISD, we work with the early college high school. And those students, more and more, we're getting more dual credit in our public schools. And so some of these students, they're not only graduating with industry-based certifications, like they may be a certified drone pilot or they may be a certified pharmacy tech, but they also are graduating with associate degrees. If they graduate from high school, then they're able to come straight to Texas A&M Central Texas and start working on their bachelor's degree because of that articulation and them already having their associate's degree. So that's an interesting thing that we're doing. And we currently do have classes at Hutto at the East Williamson County Higher Education Center. Okay. We're looking to expand our work in the area. But fairly new university, 2009 is when we became part of the A&M family. And we're very proud of the A&M brand. That's a nice brand to have, and we're happy to be part of that family. So you don't really know. I told someone the other day because my father worked for the University of Texas for 35 years. So the first time I showed up to first time I showed up to talk to everyone, and I had my A&M maroon on, they were like,
"That's the wrong color.
Yeah, we cannot get used to you wearing maroon." And of course, my philosophy is, whatever name's on the paycheck is the colors I wear. So I didn't have any trouble making the transition, but I will also tell you, I've been pleasantly surprised at how much of a family and how much the A&M system cares about all of their campuses and how they support their employees. And I always knew from a distance that Texas A&M system was a big animal like UT systems, but you don't really quite understand that until you get behind the curtain and you're like, good gracious, this is a big deal. So they're very supportive of the work that's going on here in Central Texas. As I said, we have 672 acres. Our master plan is we'll have 13 buildings when we're finished.
Okay.
We're about to start working on our 5th building. So
it's really just getting started.
So really just getting started. It's early on. However, we did have a 24% enrollment increase last year. So one of the fastest growing campuses in the system. But we're excited about our future in Round Rock, the classes that we're able to do here, the work that we're doing in partnership with Temple College and Austin Community College. So we're just looking forward to great things, and we want Round Rock to know that I was here when we brought Texas State University in, and so we know that that's part of the community, and we're excited to just about being able to give options to students. And there may be some students that can't make it to College Station, but they want that A&M diploma. That's within reach for them here in the area. So,
which is what we heard from a lot of the leaders, right? We wanted a place where people could get their education here, go to school, even if it's just Temple. It's not that far away. They're still here, and then come back and work here. Which brings me into, again, I think you have a unique perspective for this because, you've worked in economic development, you work in workforce development, and now in the university. How do you see the university today preparing the students for the workforce of today and for the next few years?
Yeah, an interesting thing that's happening is universities are almost kind of morphing into technical colleges. As a matter of fact, there are some universities that already have a technical college component to it.
Okay.
But at A&M Central Texas, we're very much focused on high-demand jobs. For example, we're in a partnership with Temple College right now where we have an applied science program that's specifically catered and customized to the training needs of Samsung and Taylor.
Okay.
And so we've done some work with some of their vendors, and so we have the same equipment that Samsung is using inside their facilities. And so we're very focused on kind of applied science and not just kind of liberal arts type of stuff. Like history's good, but we want...
So somewhere between a liberal arts and a trade school, and you're sitting kind of like right in between.
Exactly. It's very much focused on high demand employment, skills that can be utilized, and really degrees that lead to careers and to jobs. And so that's a little bit of our focus. And I think what you're going to see is you'll see that more and more. You're probably going to see more dual credit at the high school level. That's going to continue to grow and be a thing. And the high schools now, not to take any credit from Austin Community College or Temple College, but the high schools now have almost become technical colleges because of just the career and technical education aspect and all the career pathways and opportunities that students have in that arena.
Now, I heard recently, it may have been a TikTok, so it may not be accurate, but someone was making the argument that instead of a high school student focusing in on AP classes, they really should find opportunities for these dual credit classes, especially here in Texas. And if they're thinking of considering some of these schools, is that real? Like, is that actually good advice?
So the best advice is focus on the pathway that gets you to your career.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like. So sometimes that does look like you have a love for air conditioning. Well, then that's a HVAC technician. Then that's probably a industry certification. It could be an apprenticeship, and that's what you need to focus on. If you want to be
cybersecurity,
a cybersecurity guy, then most likely there's what the data shows is about 80% of the guys and gals that are in cybersecurity have a bachelor's degree. So you probably need to set your sights on, get all the training and all. The great thing about the way the high schools are set up is you can get your certification. So you go to work and you can be making decent money because you have an industry-based certification. You have some mad skills.
Yep.
And you can be doing that while you get your bachelor's degree to move up to the next level. But what I tell people so recently, one of our public schools, they asked me to come and speak to a classroom of students about kind of the dynamics of the workforce. And it was a class specifically on video gaming. So I went and I asked all the students, first thing I asked them is I said, how many of you want to live in Central Texas? And about a third of the class raised their hand. And I said, how many of you want to go to college? A little less raised their hand. What I had to explain to them is, if you want to live in Central Texas, then you need to start deciding how can you live in the Austin area, because that's where the video game studios are.
Yep.
There's not any in Killeen. There's not any in Temple.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with those communities, but you have to be smart about this and understand you may have to move to San Diego. And oh, by the way, you look on the internet and you see video game designers make $120,000 in San Diego. Well, you're living in poverty if you're making $120,000 in San Diego. So maybe you need to consider Austin. And then you can look at that same data. 83% of video game designers have a bachelor's degree. So if you weren't planning on going to college, you might want to do that. And of course, there was always one smart student in the class who's just like, yeah, but like 20% of them don't have a bachelor's degree. So you don't have to go to college. And my comment to them is, no, you don't. But if there's a stack of resumes on a desk and 80% of them have bachelor's degrees and you're over here in the 20% stack, you're not making yourself or placing yourself in the most competitive situation. So rather than, I usually don't make the blanket statement of, yeah, you should consider a certification or dual credit or whatever. I always say, what is it you're wanting to do? What's your ultimate goal? And then reverse map that. And like, what should I be taking right now in order to get there? And sometimes that involves dual credit because you want your associate degree, but you also know, yeah, I really want to be an engineer. Okay, well, there's no industry-based certification for an engineer. You're going to have to go through your bachelor's degree, so you need to plan for that. So students, there was a time there where we told students, well, college isn't for everyone. Well, we've gone to a lot of trouble in the United States to make college available for everyone. And then we tell students, well, but we need a lot of plumbers. If you learn to be a plumber, you'll make more money than a bachelor's degree. What I really try to tell students is, no, it's about your passion. It's about what you want to do. Then base your education plan on your pathway. Don't try to decide, well, maybe I don't have to go to college or maybe I should go to college. Just find out what you want to do and then pursue it from that direction.
So let's talk a little bit about what your role here, because I know you're connecting with a lot of alumni in the area, and if they want to get to know you as well and discuss some of their career paths, let's speak specifically about what you're doing.
Yeah, so we're continuing to try to build our alumni base in the Williamson County area because of the work we're doing here. And just trying to reach out for employer partners that are interested in partnering with the university, whether that looks like internships or programming. As a matter of fact, something that's very interesting is this next month, we are doing, I want to say it's October 20, I got that date wrong, end of October, we're doing the Central Texas Energy Summit. And basically what has happened is Encore, the leadership of Encore, who takes care of all of our power, they've contacted us and, they said, hey, we'd like to update the community on this huge transmission line we're building, kind of some of the projects we're working on, how the growth is going. But we don't want to have it at one single community. Do you think the university could host that? So we're hosting that luncheon.
Okay.
Interesting enough, we've got some great sponsors because Hutto EDC, the Williamson County Economic Development Corporation, Taylor Economic Development Corporation. All these folks are getting on board, and they're helping support this summit, this luncheon, along with some of the communities in Bell County.
Awesome.
But it's going to be an event, so we're just trying to reach out and let others know that we want to build those relationships. Just last week we had the Texas A&M Central Texas Night at the Dell Diamond, which I heard you say earlier that Charlie Culpepper mentioned the staff out there. And yeah, Chris and Tim, all those guys, man, they made us feel like we were their university. And the interesting thing about Chris, which I know he's gotten a lot of shout outs on this podcast in the past, but we're just at the ballpark and I can just text him and say, hey, I've got the president of the university here. You think you could come by and just, help me close the deal? And man, he'll show up, and they treated us like royalty. But we had leadership from Williamson County we invited to our suite just to let them meet President Rhodes and let them know, hey, we're here. We're trying to make more connections and grow. So we're excited about what the future is for A&M in Williamson County.
Now, this new job has you moved a little far away, but you keep your home here. If you had to take one of your favorite businesses from Round Rock with you, so you could visit it daily, what business would it be?
Well, number one, you're trying to get me in trouble, but it wouldn't be so much of a business because it's easy to drive down here and do my shopping or whatever. But the thing that just kills me, and unfortunately, it's not like a homegrown Round Rock, but it is definitely Round Rock. And even when I was in economic development in Temple, I was after these guys every day, all day. If I could just get a Torchy's in Bell County, I'd be okay. Because sometimes, you got to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you just have that fit. And I'm like, man, I need a Torchy's right now. And we've got Fuzzies up there, which they're okay, but everyone always says, "Yeah, we're going down to Round Rock." As a matter of fact, there wasn't very long ago. I came down on a Saturday. I forgot what I came for, but I'm like, well, I'm going to hit Torchy's while I'm down there. I walk into Torchy's, and the economic development director from Temple is sitting in there with his family and eating, and I'm like, we could have just stayed in Temple and talked. We didn't have to come down here, but it's good. But there's so many good opportunities in Round Rock. It's really hard to nail one down. And what's so interesting is the last 15 years or so, it's just really exploded. And I think those leaders like Niall Maxwell, Charlie Culpepper, Alan McGraw, I'll leave out somebody, and certainly now Craig Morgan and all the chamber leadership, they can be proud to say that goal was achieved about turning Round Rock into a place, and people weren't leaving here to go to Austin because it is a draw, and it's something that they can really be proud of. And I can remember the day when Parks and Rec rolled out, we're going to be the sports capital of Texas. And we all were sitting around the table like, we don't have any sports. What are you talking about? That's like the craziest thing in the world. But then with the expansion of Old Settlers Park and Round Rock Express, and now the recreation facility across the highway over by Jack Allen's, it's like, wow, someone visioned that and turned that into that, because now every time I'm going to a Grand Critter baseball game, where are we supposed to meet y'all? Oh, we're playing at Old Settlers Park in Round Rock. So they have tournaments coming in here. So it's a wonderful place, and Texas A&M's just looking forward to just being included in it and being part of it.
If any of our listeners want to reach out to you, have some questions for you, just want to pick your brain a little bit about the university, what's the best way for them to find you? Yeah,
so I think most everyone in Round Rock has my cell number, but my email is Charley with a EY dot AYRES at tamuct.edu. We stay connected down here a lot, but we'd love to visit with some of the business leaders down here and try to make those connections and let them see how they could plug into some of our students. I know like accounting students and engineering folks, different ones are always looking for opportunities for internships or shadowing. So we'd be excited about connecting with them.
Awesome. Charlie, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Was Culpepper sitting in this chair?
No, it might have been this side.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then I won't have to wash my hands
Yeah.
when I get up. So that's the main thing. But no, thank you for having me, and we're excited about the future of Round Rock.